All right. Welcome back to the Week 13 predictions episode of the Lewis and Laraib podcast. I'm your host, Lewis. Next to me is my beautiful co-host, Laraib, as we are going to go through every single game of the Week 13 slate, starting from this Sunday, going all the way to this Tuesday. Every team besides the Panthers and the Buccaneers will be playing, and those are the last two teams with a bye week. So following this week, it'll be all 16 teams or all 32 teams going every single week. So we're going to start seeing this playoff picture really start to fold. So these games are really going to start to matter for all these teams in terms of you're either a team, you're trying to get your playoff ranking, trying to get a top seed, or you're just trying to get in, period. And then there's the Jets and the Jaguars who are just trying to get the number one draft pick. But regardless, we're going to move on to our first game. Laraib, take us away.
Yeah, so starting off at the 12 o'clock schedule, we have the Saints at 9-2 going to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium to play the 4-7 Falcons. New Orleans in this game only -3, but Lewis, why don't you start us off as a resident Saints fan?
So the reason why this line might be smaller than we would anticipate after following just 2 weeks ago, the Saints had beaten the Falcons by 13 points. So what is the reasoning for, or 15 points, excuse me, for only a 3-point line? Well, last week the Saints, they just beat up on a hapless Denver Broncos team with no quarterback. So everyone threw that game out of the window, except Taysom Hill did not play very well in his second start. Meanwhile, on the Atlanta Falcons front, they absolutely dominated the Raiders at home, a score of 43-6. I mean, you can call it a fluke if you'd like, but those scores just don't happen unless you have a good football team. And the Atlanta Falcons have that weird potential. Like we talked about, 1 week they come out and dominate the Vikings. Next week they get stomped to the ground. I mean, it is what it is with this Falcons team. And in the second matchup with the Saints, this is almost like their Super Bowl this season. I mean, it's not exactly a primetime game, but it's against the top seed in the NFC. And if I'm a Falcons fan, I don't understand why I would really want to start winning games now. You really don't have a chance to make the playoffs. We were talking about the teams with an outside shot to maybe sneak their way in. This was a team we didn't even think about bringing up because of how bad they've been this season, how inconsistent they've been. So the thing I'm looking for in this game was how impressive that Falcons run defense was last week. We saw in the first matchup, Taysom Hill was running all over this Falcons team for 2 touchdowns, and Alvin Kamara got out in space and really did a lot of damage. So can this Falcons team limit the Saints' running game, which has been very successful over the last few weeks? And will Taysom Hill finally throw his first touchdown pass against this Falcons defense?
Yeah, and just to hit on the Saints, you said for the Falcons, this is like almost like a Super Bowl. And for the Saints, this is going to be a key game for them. We know every year this is a divisional game, and this is not one they want to drop because if you go to 9-3 and you allow the Packers to sneak up on you, a team like the Seahawks or the Rams can sneak up and take the number 1 seed from you. So this is going to be on paper very easy matchup, but you don't want this to be a trap game for you, especially when you're traveling to Atlanta to play this game. But no, yeah, if the Falcons have any shot in this game, it's going to be based on how well that run defense is going to be. And we saw, they stopped Josh Jacobs and Derek Carr last week, and maybe they can recreate some of that success against here. But I think Taysom Hill, he's disappointed in himself how he's played, or at least how he's thrown the ball the past 2 weeks. I'm looking for him and Mike Thomas. Had a nice connection in the first Falcons game. I know they didn't score any touchdowns, but I'm expecting Mike Thomas and Taysom Hill to both have a big, passing game this week.
Yeah, and I know this game reads trap game all over it with Drew Brees' return impending. And, you look down the line, you have the Eagles coming up next week, not exactly a big matchup, but then you have the Chiefs, which is going to be the big primetime matchup against the Super Bowl champions. So you just kind of want to get through this Falcons game. So it's going to be a close game. I will admit it will be close, but I'm going to take it over the 3 points. Give me Saints by 4. I'm going to go Saints 27, Falcons 23.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. The Saints definitely win this game. Give me the Saints in this one, 28, Falcons 24.
All right, good stuff. Let's move on to our next game. We have the Detroit Lions traveling to Chicago, two teams who technically are still in the playoff picture, even though Detroit maybe not as much. But, we talked about the Bears have a pretty good shot to potentially make some noise despite dropping 5 in a row as their schedule really lightens up in their last 5 games. So, Laraib, what are we supposed to look at in this game?
Yeah, in this game, look for, new interim head coach for the Lions, Darrell Bevel, to try to get something going against his Bears defense. I know, everyone, all the focus on the Bears right now, but the Lions with Matt Patricia gone and their GM gone, Darrell Bevel, maybe he can, cook something up for this Lions team. I know the Lions are the only team this year without a divisional win, so maybe that gives them some hope. But in this one, Matt Stafford hasn't been playing too well. They just got embarrassed on national television on Thanksgiving last week, so maybe they play with a little bit of fire this week, especially with the new head coach. DeAndre Swift, hopefully he's back for this game. And Matt Stafford, he's been off a little bit, but hopefully he can get something going against the Bears defense.
Yeah, and what we saw from this Bears defense on a Sunday night against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers was quite honestly disappointing, as we've seen certain defenses give Packers some trouble this year, but the Bears really just kind of folded over in that first and second half, really, allowing Aaron Rodgers and this Packers offense to really do whatever they wanted. And we saw in the first matchup, albeit it was week 1, Mr. Trubisky and Matt Stafford were both the starting quarterback, so at least that's going to be the common thing in this game. We saw Mitch Trubisky erase a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter to come back and beat the Lions. But I feel like in this game, it'll be closer from start to finish. I feel like the Bears feel like they're kind of in limbo right now. They just want to get back on track as desperately as possible. So expect some trick plays, expect gadgets, maybe a player throwing a touchdown who is not a quarterback, Mitch Trubisky. But any other players, like trying to be as creative as possible. Matt Nagy kind of feels like he's on a hot seat right now. Now, I don't think he will be fired this season, but if next season is not going well for him either and he can't figure out this offense, which he was hired for the Bears as this offensive guru, this guy who's going to get this team back on track. And quite honestly, that has not been the case so far. And losing Vic Fangio, this defense is starting to crumble ever so slightly by the years. And these guys start to get injured and all these things start to happen for this Bears team. So expect a lot of desperation on the Bears' part. I feel like the Lions kind of like, you got your shot. You got your Thanksgiving game. All the eyes were on you, and you dropped the ball. So that's why you fired your head coach. And I don't know if the same desperation is there for the Lions. I feel like they kind of know they're out. But it's still going to be an exciting division game. But I'm going to take the Bears in this one, 23 to Lions 22.
Yeah, quick thing to note, in his 6 games in his career against the Lions, Mitchell Trubisky has thrown for 1,600 yards, 14 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions. So if you need a fantasy streaming quarterback, maybe you can go and pick this guy up. But no, yeah, you're exactly right. For the Bears, they still do have a glimmer of hope of making the playoffs. And if they're going to, have any shot, it starts with this game right here. So it's for the Bears to come out swinging early. Give me the Chicago Bears in this one. 27 to 21.
All right, let's move on now. We have the Cleveland Browns traveling to Tennessee to face the Titans. Both teams are 8-3. However, Tennessee is favored by 5.5 points in this game. I'll start with this one. Now, if you see two 8-3 teams, you expect this to be a very good late season matchup. But we've seen some of these Brown games, they haven't looked very spectacular. And although we think they have a pretty good chance to make the playoffs, they're not going to go too far in our opinions. So from this game, the biggest hope for Browns fans is that this running attack can be the be-all, end-all for all their hopes and can really just save them. Because Baker Mayfield has not been playing well this season. I mean, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions isn't bad in a vacuum, but it's really just not getting the job done. It's very average considering how strong this running game is and how much Kevin Stefanski plays off the run game. Now, I understand if he's not getting much production and it's just based off the run game, but they like setting up passes off the run game. And if I'm not mistaken, Laraib, this was a number 1 overall draft pick who was predicated on his accuracy and his ability to really fit in tight windows and to be a leader. And so far, his career, it's been not quite. I mean, the more commercials than wins and everything else. That's always the big joke. But this is a game where it's like your 3 losses this season. It's been the good teams that you just get blown off the field. Like it hasn't been close. And your wins, it's been tough, hard fought, to the nail. I mean, you barely get by, except for a few of them, which is just like, oh, you beat the Bengals by 5. Whoopee. It was easier than the score looked. I assume it was. Browns fans, don't come at me. But in this game, here's another team. Are you going to get blown off the field like you did against the Steelers and the Ravens earlier in the season? Or are you going to make this a game? And I think they can make this a game with that running game against the Tennessee defense, which, yes, it has been improving against the run, but it still is very suspect.
Yeah, and then on the other side of the ball, against the Tennessee Titans, we know who they are. We're getting into the colder months, and this is where Derrick Henry comes alive. We saw last year to start off the season. This was a big game, and Derrick Henry just stomped all over the Browns and ended their season before it could even start. And once again, this year they're gonna end their season, or not, I mean, they'll make the playoffs, but this is gonna be a crushing defeat for the Browns, and it's gonna really show us that the Browns, they'll make the playoffs, but they're not really, a very good team. They're basically the Steelers, except they lose to all the bad or all the good teams. They do have a shot in this game with that running attack, but I expect Ryan Tannehill to fully expose that secondary, and then Derrick Henry just to run all over them. I mean, what else can I say about it? The Browns, they've been, just like you said, they beat up on the bad teams, and they lose to the good ones. And the Titans at home, give me the Titans in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you, Laraib. I don't think it'll be by a huge margin. I feel like you're indicating at the moment. I feel like it will be a more low-scoring game, in my opinion, because of these running attacks and how much they want to put emphasis on it. And I want to give some credit to the Browns defense this season, which has played very well when Myles Garrett is on the field, causing havoc in the backfield. And he's not a bad run stopper either. He's just extremely versatile. Everyone knows him for his pass rushing skills. I'm not going to say he's the Derrick Henry stopper because that person does not exist on the face of the earth. However, he is definitely an impact player for this defense, and he will be back in this game to face the Tennessee Titans, and I think that will create an impact. Denzel Ward is questionable for this game, and that's going to be a big matchup. Him against A.J. Brown, 2 second-year studs really going at it. But I'm going to give the matchup to the Titans. I'm going to go 25 – or excuse me. I'm going to go a bit higher scoring than that. I'm going to go 28-21. Give me the Titans.
Well, I was just, crapping on the Browns, but they do definitely have a shot in this game with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in the backfield. And if they can run it and Baker Mayfield can take advantage of the play action, because, the Titans defense, they played a great game last week against the Colts. But before that, we saw them, getting exposed, giving up lots of chunk plays. So the Browns definitely have a shot in this game. But I just believe the Titans overall better head coach, better, if you have Derrick Henry on the offensive side of the ball, you automatically get up, just a bigger advantage. So give me the Titans this one, 28-24.
All right, sounds good. So our next game, we have the 2-8-1 Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Miami to face the Dolphins. Dolphins favored by 11.5 points in this matchup. Laraib, if you remember last season, this was the Tank Bowl. This was the race for Tua, the tank for Tua, or bungle for Burrow, as you should say at this point of the year. But then Miami started to pick up some steam towards the end of the season, so they really fell out of it, the Burrow sweepstakes, but they still managed to get Tua. But they really started to pick up some momentum. The defense started coming on late in the season. And we've seen that momentum carry them through 11 weeks so far, or through 12 weeks so far in this NFL season. So this was the turning point game, and it seems like they're in a situation to really take advantage of this NFL season with a win this week, Laraib.
Yeah, I mean, last year this game, it was one of my favorite games of the entire last year. Andy Dalton leads the hapless Bengals against a Dolphins team, which is we saw pick up, like you're saying, pick up steam in the second half. But Andy Dalton took the Bengals team into overtime, and after a great comeback, and he wins it for them in overtime. I thought it was a great game that a lot of people missed out on. But talking about this year. Yeah, with we saw what happened to Joe Burrow and with Ryan Finley as the backup quarterback. No, excuse me,
Yeah,
Brandon
Ryan.
Allen as the backup quarterback for the Bengals. I don't expect him. No, he's gonna have a tough day out there against Xavier Howard and not Minka Fitzpatrick, Byron Jones. Xavier Howard currently leads the NFL with 7 interceptions, so I'm expecting to add maybe 1 or 2 to that total during this week. And on the other side of the ball, this is going to be a great game for the Dolphins to get themselves back on track. They struggled last week against the Jets, and they come out with a win, but not as great as they expected themselves to be. And this is going to be a get-right game for them, despite whoever is in at quarterback, Tua or Fitzpatrick. Both of them, look for them for this to be a get-right game.
No, I don't think this is a hot take, but maybe it is. The Bengals without Joe Burrow seem like they're the worst team in the NFL. And the Dolphins, especially on offense, well, because you really lack that ability to get the ball to your, what has been your strength all season is these receivers who have done so much for you in terms of the passing game. And Joe Burrow was really getting a connection with all of these guys. So I see a matchup in this game where you just, the cornerbacks really key in on T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and they really don't allow them much separation. And Brandon Allen just going to make a bunch of mistakes, and Miami has been one of the best teams in the league and capitalizing off mistakes. So I think this game's going to be a blowout, quite honest with you. I'm going to go 33-10 in this matchup. Dolphins win it.
I have to wholeheartedly agree with you. If Brandon Allen is going to throw 2 picks to the Giants, what is he going to do against this Dolphins team? I'm expecting a lot of I expect the Dolphins to get out to an early lead and just coast on throughout most of the game. Give me the Dolphins this one, 31, the Bengals 13.
All right, let's move on now to our next game of the week. We have the 1-10 Jaguars traveling to Minnesota to face the Vikings. Now, I'll say this about the Jaguars. Recently, they have been playing pretty well. Let me preface this by saying they haven't won a game since week 1. So they're not a good team, and they should lose this game. But they gave the Packers a run for their money. So for the rest of the season, we can tell Packers fans, well, you almost lost to the Jaguars, so what are you talking about? And then last week, they give the 8-3 Browns a run for their money. And granted, it's the Browns, but this Jaguars team has talent on the defensive side of the ball. And they've really found a diamond in the rough here with undrafted rookie James Robinson, who has come on so strong for them in the running game. And it seems like, I don't know if the Jaguars saw this because there's a lack of training camp, but they look like geniuses right now for moving on from Leonard Fournette and making James Robinson the starter. 3rd in the league in rushing yards, which is incredible for an undrafted rookie. And, what I'm looking for in this game, Laraib, is I need to see a dominant win from the Vikings. And when I talk dominant, I need them to put the pedal to the metal, realize that even though, all NFL teams any given Sunday, I get that. But this is the Jaguars, and you need a dominant win to get that confidence if you want to start having this postseason stretch where really you can't make many more mistakes. If you win out, there you go. You're on the right track. And so getting a dominant win here for the Vikings will be that confidence boost to where they know, like, we are that team. We can compete. And if, the Chiefs can blow out the Jags and we can blow out the Jags, it's just a confidence boost. They get Adam Thielen back off the COVID list, so he will be returning for them in this game. So yeah, I like the Vikings in this matchup. Not much to talk about.
Yeah, there really isn't much to talk about, but Vikings, again, another one of those teams that a lot of people may have counted them out earlier on in the season, but they still have a nice chance of sneaking in, and their schedule going forward is not too difficult. It all starts right here once again with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just like you're saying, James Robinson, one of the best rookies so far this season, undrafted as well. But we're talking about rookies. You have to bring in Justin Jefferson into the conversation. Only 82 yards away from having 1,000 receiving yards in the season, and I wholeheartedly expect him to, get that this week, especially when you're at home against the Jaguars. This is going to be a great game for the Vikings to get a dominant win in. Dalvin Cook, look for him to just run all over this defense. Give me Vikings. I do believe they go over the 10-point spread. Give me the Vikings in this one. 33-14.
So, quick thing to note that I want to bring up as an LSU student and LSU fan, the last time Justin Jefferson and cornerback C.J. Henderson on the Jaguars met was the last time LSU played Florida last season, and Justin Jefferson in that game had 2 touchdowns and over 100 receiving yards. So, if anything like that could be replicated with Kirk Cousins as the quarterback, which we've seen as a really good connection this season, although we love to, poop on Kirk Cousins, which is, it's understandable. He's had some really good moments and has a really good chemistry connecting with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen this season. So because of that, give me the Vikings in this matchup, and I think they get that dominant win. I'm going to go 27-7 in this matchup. Vikings are going to get this one.
All right, moving on to another 12 o'clock game. We have the Raiders at 6-5 playing against the 0-11 Jets. Not much to talk about in this game. I know the Raiders had a terrible outing last week against the Falcons, but when you're going up against the Jets, is there really much to say? I mean, if you have any Raiders players, go ahead and start them in this week for fantasy football. Maybe a little hope for the Jets. Maybe Sam Darnold can get something going. But, is there really much to say in this one, Lewis?
If you were to tell me the score of the Atlanta Falcons-Oakland Raiders game was 43-6, Laraib, I would have told you and just said, who do you think won the game? The score was 43-6. I would have told you the Raiders won that game. In no part of my mind would I think the Falcons would be able to beat the Raiders with a score like that, but they did. And John Gruden is a master motivator. He knows exactly what these guys need and what they don't need. And all they've been hearing this season is Vegas is back. The Raiders are back on top. The Chiefs are still, the Kings pins in our division, but we're getting momentum. We drafted some nice young players. We're really starting to turn that leaf, and then you get smacked. So this is a perfect opportunity for John Gruden to say, here's another bad team. In fact, the worst team in the NFL. So if you lose this one, yada, 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 he's going to get his guys up for this game. So I think the Raiders come out in an emphatic way and really put it on the Jets. Now, like you said, fantasy purposes, get some Raiders guys in there. Josh Jacobs did get injured in that Atlanta Falcons games, but he will be back to start for the Raiders in this game. So expect him to have a big impact on this game. But besides that, not much to say. I'm going to go Raiders. It's going to be not as big as a blowout because the Jets have shown some fight the past few weeks. It seems like they don't want to finish the season 0-16, which is, you don't want to finish as a bad team regardless. But, yes, keep some of your pride and win a game. But this is not the game they win. Give me the Raiders in this matchup. I'm going to go 21 or 24 to 13. So closer than you might think, but it's still going to be a Raiders win.
Yeah, quick thing to note, the Raiders last week was a big loss for them. They go 6-5 and they drop out of the playoffs. But, if they do want to have a chance, if you want to beat out the or you want to, beat the Ravens and sneak in, or beat a team like the Dolphins and sneak in, then this is going to be a big game for them. So give me the Raiders in this one, 28-13.
All right, moving on to our last game of the 12 o'clock slate. We have the 7-4 Colts traveling to Houston to face the 4-7 Texans. Indianapolis favored by 3.5 in this matchup. We saw an Indianapolis team that was really just blown off the field against the Titans last week in a game which they really, really needed to get a stranglehold of that division. They'd already beaten the Titans once, and quite honestly, they were ran off the field by King Henry and that Titans offense, which we saw them do a very good job of containing in the first matchup. So, that could just be Derrick Henry's finding his group. But for this Indianapolis Colts defense, the past 2 weeks have not been very good. They give up 28 to the Packers. I understand the second half they played tremendous and hold Aaron Rodgers to 3 points that entire second half. But you give up 31 points in that game. You give up 30-plus points in last week's game against the Titans. So, and now guess what? You're facing a frisky Texans team, which has really done a good job. Deshaun Watson and this offense have been clicking. We saw them put up massive numbers against the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving. So they have that 10 days rest. However, the big thing for the Texans that we talked about is Will Fuller getting suspended. He just had his biggest game of the year and seemed like him and Deshaun Watson were really having a strong connection. So this is the reason I'm picking the Colts in this game, because of that loss of Will Fuller is going to be so impactful for this team. And they don't have the running back strength to really go at the Colts like a Tennessee Titans can with a Derrick Henry. So it's all going to be on Deshaun Watson for another week with worse weapons. Give me the Colts.
Yeah, and then on the other side of the ball, the Colts, terrible outing last week against the Titans. We saw Derrick Henry just run all over them. And then on the offensive side of the ball, without Jonathan Taylor, the run game couldn't do much, and that they just had to throw a whole bunch to try to get themselves back into that game. But this week, you're going against one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, one of the worst defenses in the NFL, just period. So look for them to – this is going to be another team to have a bounce-back week this week. T.Y. Hilton, he had a little bit of a good game last week, but he has a history of just being great against the Texans. In his career, he's had 85 catches, 1,500 yards, and 10 touchdowns against this Texans defense, and I expect him to continue that. I know without Andrew Luck, he's been struggling the past couple of years, but this is going to be a game for him and, Michael Pittman Jr. and Zach Pascal, all of them to have a big game this week against a defense that can really be exposed. And for Deshaun Watson, I mean, keep on being great. Your team is 4-7. You're not going to make the playoffs, but still have some hope for this team. I know Brandon Cooks is going to be out there, and maybe Randall Cobb and Kiki QT. All of them can have, try to have a good outing against the Colts, but I don't see it happening. So give me the Colts in this one, 27, Texans 23.
All right, so let's move on. All right, I need to give my score. I did not give my score. I do have the Colts winning this game. It's starting to get serious for them. They're in playoff contention, and right now they are a wild card team. They're still in the thick of the race against the Titans. Titans with tough games remaining against the Packers, and the Browns this week. So it's definitely not going to be a cakewalk for the Titans going down the stretch. So the Colts can only hope really, get that conference record over them, as they do have a tie in the head-to-head matchup. So the Colts, they can drop this game. They really cannot. And I think they don't, coming off that loss last week. It's going to be close because I have respect for Deshaun Watson in this offense. But without Will Fuller and that defense looking very suspect, give me the Colts in this game. I'm going to go 28-21. 28-21. Give me the Colts in this matchup.
All right. So moving on to the first game of the 3 o'clock schedule, and most likely the game of the week. The LA Rams at 7-4 play the Arizona Cardinals at 6-5. The Rams in this game -2.5. But let me start off with the Rams defense. Last week, Deebo Samuel just ran all over this Rams defense. He was catching balls and just going, wherever he wanted to. And then on the game, when the game was on the line and, the 49ers needed to win that game to get into field goal position, they went right back to Deebo Samuel, and he just brings them right into field goal range. And, that was disappointing. Aaron Donald, he and Deebo Samuel were going back and forth on Twitter. But this week, you're going to have your hands full with Kyler Murray. I know he's been dealing with a shoulder injury, and, he really doesn't want to get out of the pocket and take those big hits, running down the field anymore. But maybe that can, you can have a little bit more impact with his legs once again against the Rams team, which we saw last week, struggled against the 49ers run offense. And then for the Rams defense, it's all about containing Kyler Murray and then Jalen Ramsey and DeAndre Hopkins. That's going to be the big matchup this week. And I think whichever one out of those two can win that matchup, their team is most likely going to win this game.
Yeah, and the big thing for me is what's the start going to look like for Jared Goff? If he can get off to a good start, get a good chemistry with his receivers, and get that connection going early, he's going to have a good game, and the Rams are probably going to win a game. But if he struggles early, it's going to affect his confidence, it's going to affect his chemistry, and the Rams are going to lose this game. Jared Goff has been the single most inconsistent quarterback all season, as we can see him have games like he did against Tampa, in which him and Cooper Kupp are really dialed in. He gets Robert Woods going in the passing game, and he seems like he had 2 interceptions in that game, but he also had 3 touchdowns and over 300 passing yards. And that's the Jared Goff we remember from 2018. But then you see a game like the 49ers game in which he gives up turnovers, and he's frankly not good whatsoever pushing the ball down the field. And if his first option is taken away, it's game over for the Rams in that offense. And, Sean McVay, I guess you could say Kyle Shanahan just has his number. But this is a game against a tough divisional opponent in which I do think you're the better team, Los Angeles. But if you cannot get off to a good start in this game against a not that great Cardinals defense, but they've had their flashes, then it's going to be a tough matchup. And that's why I have the Rams favored, but it's all going to depend on what Jared Goff can do early in this matchup.
Yeah, maybe as a Seahawks fan, I'm just trying to speak this into existence so both these teams can be 7-5. But I like the Cardinals in this one. If Kyler Murray, like I said, he was dealing with a shoulder injury, but if he can get that healed up and him and DeAndre Hopkins can have a big game against this Rams secondary, saw it get exposed last week. The Rams definitely have, one of the best defenses in the NFL, but going up against DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk, definitely going to have their hands full. So give me the Cardinals in this one. They're at home. A tough loss against the Patriots last week, especially one that they should have won after, questionable roughing the pass or late hit on the quarterback call. So give me the Cardinals in this one. Zane Gonzalez, for the love of God, hit a 40-yard field goal. Jesus, man. But give me the Cardinals this one. I hope he can hit one to win this game for them. Give me the Cardinals 27-24.
Yeah, I don't have to disagree with you, Laraib. I think this Rams defense is for real. And the first time the Cardinals are really facing this with their new toys. And, Jalen Ramsey has been one of the best cornerbacks in the league, so he will certainly be up to the task to take away a DeAndre Hopkins in this matchup. But that will be one of the best matchups we see all weekend, and those two studs who have a good respect for each other as they used to battle in the AFC South when Jalen Ramsey was on the Jaguars and DeAndre Hopkins was on the Texans. So we'll be able to see that matchup unfold once again in the NFC West with some better quarterbacks, I'll say. So I have the Rams in this game, though, because I think Jalen Ramsey gets the job done in this first matchup, and this defense really shows up and shows out. Kyler Murray hasn't been as effective as a rusher in the past few games, and with Aaron Donald in this defensive front, which has played well stopping the run and getting after the quarterback, getting that inside pressure on Kyler Murray, making him get outside of the pocket, but facing the defensive ends coming down, Leonard Floyd, and really getting after him to where he has nowhere to run outside the pocket and really can't hurt you as much with his legs. This is why I like the Rams in this particular matchup. I'm going to go 27-24. Cardinals, Zane Gonzalez misses a kick to send it to overtime.
Oh, man. All right, so moving on to another game at the 3 o'clock schedule. We have the 4-7 Giants playing against the Seattle Seahawks, who are 8-3 at Lumen Field. The Seahawks in this game minus 10.5. And, if Daniel Jones was playing in this game, I might have some cause for concern as a Seahawks fan. But with Colt McCoy out there, I know Wayne Gallman has had some bright flashes for this Giants, running game, especially with Saquon Barkley out. But going against the Seahawks defense, which has the past couple weeks, they just keep on getting better and better and better. We talked about it, the past couple weeks. If they keep on, getting some of those key playmakers back, getting some more chemistry working together, and they've looked solid, And then I think the big matchup for this game is going to be, DK Metcalf, number one receiving yard leader or in the NFL this year, going against James Bradbury, one of the best, most underrated cornerbacks in the league. I think that's going to be a big matchup in this one. But, besides all that, I think the Seahawks, they win this game pretty easily at home against the Giants team, which is just lacking any sort of offense with Colt McCoy out there. So give me the Seahawks 28, Giants 14.
Well, a team is going to play better and better and better, Laraib, when their competition is significantly worse and worse and worse week by week. And with the Jets coming up next week, it's not going to get any better from here for a while. But I will say this. These games against not-so-great offenses and not-so-great offensive lines are going to give the Seattle defense the confidence it needs to finish this season as a respectable defense. Now, we can always say, well, these last few games weren't against very good teams. And granted, but playing these games, getting that confidence, building off of each other, really taking advantage, because this Seahawks defense is not going to play uninspired. They're not going to be like, oh, it's the New York Giants, let's just sleep on them or yada, yada. They can understand, we've been playing like garbage all season, and we need to get up for these games and really, build that chemistry with some of these new pieces with the Carlos Dunlap and a Jamal Adams returning from injury to get back on track and get back on, becoming one of these playoff defenses that can help a Russell Wilson instead of hinder the Seahawks team. So, yeah, with no Daniel Jones in this game, I don't think it's very close. Give me Seahawks 28 and Giants 13.
All right, let's move on to another 3 o'clock game. We have the 3-7-1 Eagles playing against the 8-3 Packers. Packers minus 8.5 in this game. Lewis, why don't you go ahead and start us off for this one?
Yeah, the Packers coming off a dominant Sunday night win. Meanwhile, Eagles coming off a short week on a Monday night. I don't think this game is close whatsoever. I think Green Bay absolutely blows out this pathetic Philadelphia Eagles team, which, was the current champion of the NFC least, but now falls to another game to put them at 3-8-1. Aaron Rodgers has been playing fantastic so far this season. And also, I have respect for this Eagles defense. I also had respect for that Chicago Bears defense and that Indianapolis Colts defense that the Packers have eviscerated in their past 2 games. I know the Colts beat the Packers. However, 31 points is not a slouch of an offensive performance, at least in the first half. So the big thing for the Eagles in this game is, can you stay with the Packers through 3 quarters? Because then the Packers kind of wear down and they can be had in the running game, and, their offensive line can get some holes. Corey Linsley, the guard for the Green Bay Packers, will be out this game, but Elton Jenkins, one of the big stories from this Packers team, who's played every single offensive line position this season, so he'll be more than well suited to fill into that spot and really help out this Packers squad in his second year as a starter. But what I'm looking for in this game, can the Eagles stay with them? No, they can't. Packers are going to simply just get out to a huge lead, hit those receivers, and they're just going to start burning up the league. So give me the Packers. I'm going to go 35-20 in this matchup.
What I'm looking for in this game is when it reaches the beginning of the second half, when it reaches the third quarter, when it reaches the fourth quarter, and the Eagles are down by over 20 points, are they finally going to decide, are we done with Carson Wentz, and are we going to put in Jalen Hurts? I think that's been the big story out of this game. I wholeheartedly expect for Jalen Hurts to get a lot more playing time in this one. The Packers are absolutely going to blow this team out of the water, even if they struggle on offense just a little bit against that Eagles defense, which you've seen has been good. There's just no way Carson Wentz can do anything on offense with going against any defense in the NFL. The Packers win this game pretty easily. Give me the Packers 31, Eagles 17. Look for some more Jalen Hurts to be played in this game just because of how bad Carson Wentz is going to be. I've been calling for it all season long, and there's going to come a point in time when some of the higher ups of this Eagle organization are just going to say, we're done with this, just put in the rookie quarterback.
I think that's almost impossible. Now, I will not, contest you in saying Jalen Hurts probably will get playing time in this game and more than just one play and taking him out. But Carson Wentz's contract situation, we'll get into that in a later, recap episode. But it's very hard for this organization to think about moving on from Wentz, at least until the season after next. So all they can do now is try to get confidence going into the latter stretch of the season. And if they can somehow win this division and make the playoffs, you can look at this team and be like, well, Carson Wentz is a back-to-back champion, however many asterisks you want to put on as you will, for the NFC East, and it hasn't been done in however many years. I think 15 years, there's been no repeat champions in this division. So we'll see what happens. I don't think they're able to do it as they still have tough games. This game, and then you have the Saints game coming up and some tough divisional opponents, or tough. It's just better than you divisional opponents. But and one other thing I want to note in this game was Preston Smith for the Packers has really come on strong in the past few games. And we saw the strength of this defense was when not only Zadarius Smith, but Preston Smith were both playing at very high levels. And we saw him really come on strong in the Sunday Night Football game. If him and Zadarius Smith can get that pressure, it can be very hard to play coming from behind against this Packers offense. So give me the Packers in this one. I think we can move on.
Yep. So we will be moving on to the last game of the 3 o'clock schedule. We have the 5-6 Patriots going up against the 3-8 Chargers. The line for this game is currently even, but let's start off with the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, you clearly have, one of the your franchise quarterback. Hopefully, you just have him secured at this point. Justin Herbert has a great season so far. He's leading. He's currently leading in Rookie of the Year conversations almost amongst everybody. And but the issue I have with the Chargers is their coaching. I mean, if you saw any part of the game last week against the Bills, it was just terrible coaching in the fourth quarter. And that's why they haven't been able to win any one of these close games that they've had this year, last year, the past couple years. They're probably the worst team in the NFL in one-score games. And this week you're going against the Patriots team, which, struggled from who they've been for the past couple seasons. But I fully expect Anthony Lynn to get out-coached by Bill Belichick in this one. I know Cam Newton has been struggling this season. Only 4 touchdowns to maybe, 9 interceptions. So even with all that, you can't, coaching is just one thing, is just always going to make you end up losing the game. I mean, look at how bad the Jets have been with Adam Gase. They're gonna finish 0-16. And same for the Chargers team. They're struggling with a terrible head coach, and I fully expect a coaching change, after this season ends.
Yeah, I agree with you, Laraib. And we understand what Bill Belichick's track record against rookie quarterbacks has been in his career, especially at home. But this game is in SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. So, I mean, the line is even, which is respectable because although this Chargers team is more talented, they're not as well coached. We saw that Patriots team really come off an impressive win against a good Cardinals team. And I need to see the Chargers beat a team that is somewhat respectable before I can pick them in any sort of game. And I know it's Patriots on the road. They have a horrible road record this season, 1-4 on the season. But this is the game I think they get it done. They get it all together, and they're going to beat the Chargers in this game. Cam Newton has a great game. Or not great, but he gets the job done. And this Patriots defense is going to hold Justin Herbert to one of his first games without a passing touchdown this season.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, just for all the reasons. I mean, no matter how good Justin Herbert can be, he can't beat the coaching staff on his own team. So, look for the Patriots run game with Damian Harris, and I think maybe Sony Michel can come back for this game. So, along with the running attack with Cam Newton in his legs, even the Patriots in this one, I think it's going to be a little bit tighter scoring just because of how good Justin Herbert can be. So, give me the Patriots in this one, 27-24.
And I will say the emergence of Austin Eckler in this offense is going to add another dimension to them, especially in the running game. But I still think the Patriots are going to win this game. And we'll get into sort of the head coaching carousel and what could be the end for Anthony Lynn in Los Angeles with a loss in this football game. But, Laraib, let's move on to Sunday Night Football, where we have the Denver Broncos at 4-7 traveling to face Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. This game feels very coronation of Patrick Mahomes for MVP type game. It's a Sunday night game against a really bad opponent. I understand the Broncos from last week are not going to be the Broncos who are playing this week, as they will have a quarterback, their starter, in Drew Lock. But I just don't see, first off, why this is a Sunday night football game, because this is honestly atrocious. But that's a whole different conversation we can have about what the heck NBC was thinking about scheduling some of these dog water games. But in this matchup, I mean, we just saw that Denver defense get ran down their throats with Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara in that game. And there was really no passing threat with Taysom Hill. I mean, there was a threat, but it was nowhere near as significant as it will be with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes hosting the Denver Broncos. All this game is going to tell me is this is the league saying, here are the Kansas City Chiefs, and here is your MVP, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head right there. I mean, Kansas City in this game, -14, going up against a Broncos team who's been, terrible all season long. They've had some bright flashes, and they're going to have Drew Lock back. But going against Patrick Mahomes, the clear MVP frontrunner, and the Chiefs, right now, a lot of people's clear Super Bowl, favorite up to this point. So give me the Chiefs in this one. I think it's going to be slaughter on Sunday Night Football. Give me the Chiefs 33 to Broncos 17.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say here. The way that Chiefs offense was clicking now, they lost some luster in the second half, but I think this game is all going to be about the coronation of Patrick Mahomes, and he's going to take the advantage of this stage and this situation, and he's going to absolutely slaughter the Denver Broncos. It's going to be higher scoring in a sense. I think the game's still going to be a blowout, but give me 35-23, but the game is nowhere near in reach whatsoever the entire time. But let's move on now, Laraib, to our Monday and Tuesday night games, starting with our Monday night game, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the 4-7 Washington football team. Steelers favored by 7 in this game. Now, what we saw, the Steelers will be coming off a very short week, but the Ravens get an extra day because, but that's besides the point. Coming off a very short week, coming off a Wednesday football game. Washington coming off a very long week after dismantling the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, a game in which the Steelers should have been playing on that day, so they would have had equal time off for this matchup. However, they did not. This is why this game is on a Monday. And this is going to be the Steelers' first loss of the season.
Oh!
This front for the Washington football team is an absolute monster. And you know what I saw against the Cowboys? I saw Antonio Gibson come alive in that matchup, and he's going to come alive again against the Steelers. And comeback player of the year, top candidates in this game. No one's really going to be talking about it very much. I think Alex Smith is the runaway favorite, no matter how good Ben Roethlisberger does, unfortunately for Big Ben. But Alex Smith, it's impressive he's still able to walk, let alone be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Meanwhile, Big Ben, my elbow hurts. Grow up. Okay. And so in this matchup, I'm looking for this offense going to start clicking, getting Scary Terry out in space is going to be scary for this Washington defense, and getting that running game going with Antonio Gibson. The Steelers have to lose one, and they're not playing any good teams this season, but this is the matchup. Washington gets this game. It's not only because I have a cane sauce on the NFC least, but they're going to win this game. It's going to be close. Don't get me wrong, but coming off this short rest and just the strength, I understand this Steelers defense is going to cause problems for Alex Smith, but if he can be turnover free in this game and not give up any cheap touchdowns to the Steelers, this offense can be had, and it will be had. Give me the football team.
Well, this is going to be a Monday doubleheader on my birthday. So, but no, this is the Washington football team. There's no way. I mean, okay, we saw the Ravens last week. They're able to keep the game close against the Steelers, and it all started with their zone read run game, right? So if the Washington football team, if they can recreate some of that same success that the Ravens had with the run game, the Steelers defense, their front seven is one of the best in the league, and they don't give up many rush yards. But we saw what the Ravens have been able to do the past couple seasons or the past couple weeks. And if the Washington football team can recreate some of the same success, we saw Antonio Gibson, what he did to the Cowboys, on Thanksgiving. So we can have some, even just half of the same success he had against the Steelers. And Scary Terry, one of the best second-year wide receivers in the NFL. If he can get something going, they have a shot. But there's just no way. I know the Steelers, they're going to be without James Conner and Marquise Pouncey because of the COVID-19 restrictions. But still, the Steelers in this game, they're going to win it pretty handedly. I know coming off a short week, but Mike Tomlin, one of the best coaches in the NFL, he's not going to let this be a trap game for the Steelers. I know they're motivated to go 16-0. Give me the Steelers in this one, 28-20.
Coach Tomlin, the coach who always plays down to his competition, is going to look at this team and say, this team doesn't even have a name. We should roll this team. We're 11-0. They're 4-7. Enough said. We don't even need to practice this week. And you know what? The football team's going to come out in this game, put their stamp on it, really get to Ben Roethlisberger, make him uncomfortable. They're going to get some defensive touchdowns in this game. And touchdowns, I mean, good field position. And then, frankly, Antonio Gibson's going to run the ball home all the way back to D.C. after leaving Pittsburgh with a W. So give me Washington. This game is going to be hard fought. Don't get me wrong. But when I say 23-13 football team, it's going to be a big one. And the football
23-13.
They will be a respectable team if my prediction comes true. They're going to elevate themselves from the NFC least to being whoever that fifth seed is going to have a game traveling to Washington. And I think we might be able to agree on that. So give me the football team in this matchup. Upset of the week.
Okay, well, moving on to the Monday night game on ESPN, we have the 8-3 Bills going up against the 5-6 49ers. Both these teams coming off great wins last week. The 49ers beating the Los Angeles Rams. But this week, they're going up against the Buffalo Bills team, which has been mildly underrated. I know I was high on them and I was low on them. Well, now, guess what? I'm back high on them. They dropped a couple games that really, in disappointing fashion that really, upset me on how this season could have been for them. But they've gotten back on track. Josh Allen, maybe he's not in the MVP conversation anymore, but still outstanding season for him and Stephon Diggs, both of them. But this week they're going to have their hands full against the 49ers defense, which we've seen what they did to Jared Goff. They got back Richard Sherman. We know how they've been with Jason Verrett at the cornerback position. So, this is going to be a tight game. It's going to be played in Glendale, Arizona, just because of the COVID-19 restrictions going on currently in San Francisco. They will not be able to play there for the remainder of their home games, I believe. So that's terrible for 49ers fans. But, in this game, it's all going to come down to Josh Allen and that 49ers defense. And I think Josh Allen, he can get it done.
Laraib, what happened the last time the Buffalo Bills traveled down to that stadium in Glendale, Arizona? Can you answer that question for me?
The Hail Murray.
The Hail Murray happened and absolutely dismantled. And a few weeks later, much to the chagrin of the Bills, they have to go back there to the graveyard to where they're embarrassed. 3 Bills cornerbacks who are getting memed on and still are getting memed on, and rightfully so. However, in this matchup, they will make up for those past sins of their forefathers, and they will come back to this graveyard and beat this shell of a 49ers team who we've liked so far. And if this is a win for the 49ers, that will propel them greatly and further into the playoffs. But I like the Bills. I like the direction they've been going in the past few weeks. They had a shaky stretch in October, but it seems like they've moved past that. And a win here against a good team will give them even more confidence heading into the playoffs. And if it's somehow the Dolphins can lose to the Bengals, they'll have a stranglehold in this division. But this AFC East getting very close, and they have to be looking in their rearview mirror at the Dolphins behind them. So give me the Bills in this matchup. I'm going to go 35-31. It's going to be close. It's going to be fun. But that is my final score.
The issue I have in this game is I just don't think that Nick Mullins even with Raheem Mostert and Deebo Samuel, will be able to keep up with this Bills, passing attack. So I think the Bills win this game 27-21.
Yeah, this is nowhere near strength on strength. The strength of this 49ers defense is stopping the run and really getting after the quarterback, but they're not the secondary, so they will be had there. That's why I have a higher scoring matchup. This Bills defense, Kyle Shanahan's going to conjure up a really good game plan, but it will not be good enough to get this win. But we're going to move on to our final game of the week. We have the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Baltimore to face the 6-5 Ravens. There is no line on this game based on whether or not Lamar Jackson is the starting quarterback. And if he's not Laraib, who do you think would be the starter?
Trace McSorley.
Trace McSorley. So we saw him come in for RG3 after RG3 threw an awful pick six that really sealed the deal in that Steelers game and buried the Ravens at 6-5. So in this matchup, the Ravens need to realize it's desperation time. Not only they're not in position to win the AFC North, but they're not even in position to make the playoffs at the moment. They need to take advantage of this Dallas Cowboys team and get back on track being that dominant team that we've known from last season and this season as well. And if they simply cannot do that against this Cowboys team, which I think they will, and I think they're going to win big, it's not going to be fun for them. So give me the Ravens in this game. It's going to be a blowout. If Lamar Jackson plays 35-13, if Trace McSorley plays 21-13, same result, Ravens win.
Yeah, so I believe Lamar Jackson will be playing in this game. Saturday will mark the 10 days quarantine, but I think you only have a day or two of practice overall. So it's going to be, it's questionable how effective he's going to be. But I think the big story in this game is going to be Dez Bryant going to play against his former team in this one. And hopefully he can go up there and get his first touchdown in the past couple of years. Against his former team. I think that's going to be a big storyline. But definitely the Ravens, like you're saying, if they want to make the playoffs, it all starts right here against the Cowboys team, which is, the only team that is allowing more than 30 points per game on defense. So give me the Ravens in this one. I think, after the terrible loss against the Steelers last week, is a get back game. Give me the Ravens, 27, Cowboys, 24. It's a close one.
All right, then, but we both have the Ravens winning this game. And that will conclude our picks for this week. Any other news we want to hit on beforehand, Laura?
No, not really. We just got to do our locks and upsets of the week. So I will start off with my lock of the week. And, it has to be the Kansas City Chiefs, right? -14 at home. Patrick Mahomes in prime time. There's very few realities where the Chiefs lose this game.
Yeah, and my lock of the week will be the Miami Dolphins hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. Brandon Allen is not going to get it done against this Dolphins defense. And Ryan Fitzpatrick as the starter is a better fit to win these immediate games, especially against bad opponents. So they will take advantage, and they will win this game. And my upset of the week, it might be a shock to some people, but I really like the matchup. I think the Washington football team will go into Pittsburgh and muddy it up, get to Ben Roethlisberger, and win this game.
And my upset of the week will be the Cleveland Browns. I kind of crapped on them earlier on in the show. I know you're going to gripe on me for that after we finish this, but if they can get the run game going with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, that's going to be their success in the game, get the play action going. We saw Jarvis Landry had a great game last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. If he can recreate some of that success against the Titans defense, which we know is susceptible, then, it's going to be a recipe for success for the Browns.
Okay, so that will conclude this episode. Thank you for tuning in. If you did, this video will be posted Friday. So any updates or news that have been posted since, we'll try to get on top of that during the week. But this is a special week for the Lewis and Laraib podcast as we're concluding. December 7th, Monday Night Football doubleheader. It's going to be very exciting. It's also Laraib's birthday. So if you can send me something around, I don't know, maybe a picture of our Laraib here in some sort of birthday theme, I will be Venmoing Laraib and you $3. So Laraib, maybe send me some Laraib themed birthday pictures. And besides that, Laraib, do you want to say anything else?
Yeah, if you send me a picture of Trace McSorley holding up the Super Bowl trophy, I will Venmo you $5.
I bet there's a bunch of pictures like that online, so I will not doubt anyone's ability to find that picture. And if you do, we mean it. We hold our word up to this stuff. But that will conclude this episode. Socials, Twitter, and Instagram will be in the bio. Big news regarding the podcast moving on to the future. Both of us are about to get out of exams. I have one more week left of school. Laura, what about you?
I think, well, I have next week, and then I have exam on the 15th, but, we're basically done.
As we are moving forward, we have some news regarding maybe a name change for the podcast. Different things here, some new editing, moving on to different platforms, Spotify, Apple Music. I've heard some people asking me if there's any platforms besides YouTube, because not everyone has YouTube Premium, which is a struggle. But so we'll try to get out to those different platforms as well for you. So big things coming before our second semester starts. So be on the tune for that. That will also be posted all over our socials. So get ready for it. Big things coming soon for the podcast. But that will conclude this episode. Our review episode will be posted on Wednesday morning. But besides that, Laraib, anything else?
Nope, that's about it.
All right, we are going to be signing off. Thank you so much if you've gotten this far, and peace out.
All right, see y'all.